The White Sox lost on Friday in embarrassing fashion. Then they got some hope on Saturday from Drew Thorpe's start. Then a bump in the road and Jonathan Cannon's development happened Sunday, along with another bad look yesterday, as it looks like Eloy Jimenez is still hurt, yet the Sox brought him back. Let's discuss the good and the bad of the weekend series loss to the Detroit Tigers next. Locked On White Sox.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And hello, I'm your host, Todd Welter, a lifelong Sox fan and the site expert of Southside Showdown, part of the Fansided Network. You can check out my written content at southsideshowdown.com. And also, I've covered Major League Baseball for outlets such as the Associated Press. And thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox. Also, follow or subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Well, the White Sox dropped 2 of 3 on the road to the Detroit Tigers over the weekend. I'll discuss the embarrassing way the Sox lost on Friday and how they got crushed yesterday, along with sandwiched in between a rare win, thanks in part to rookie Drew Thorpe's outstanding start. This brutal 39-game stretch of schedule is wrapping up this week with a 3-game series against the Los Angeles Dodgers and a makeup game against the Atlanta Braves. I'll discuss the keys/things to watch for in those 4 upcoming games against some of the best in the National League. And finally, it's Monday, so it's time for a Minor League Monday report. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Well, the Sox lost on Friday in a way that keeps just being another example in a mountain of examples of manager Pedro Grifol's inability to be a functional manager. Paul DeJong reached base in the top of the 9th, with the Sox down 2-1 with 1 out. Andrew Benintendi flies out, and DeJong, well, he lost track of the outs and was well on his way to third base, and he ended up being doubled off to end the game. It was so bad that, former Sox announcer Jason Benetti said at the, now he's with the Detroit Tigers, basically said the Sox lost in the most White Sox way imaginable. Yep, that is just another way that the Sox keep losing games. And not exactly being technically sound, and once again, no one making sure DeJong knew the outs is another prime example of Pedro Grifol being the worst manager in baseball. The detail-oriented manager once again loses a game because the team can't do the little things correctly. And, well, the offense just produced 1 run on Friday. Saturday, though, there was hope. Rookie Drew Thorpe bounced back from getting roughed up in his last outing to throw 6 innings of shutout ball. 2 of his 3 outings, he has looked really sharp, and that is a sign that he will be a solid to great starting pitcher for years to come on the South Side. Although you wonder if he continues on this pace, how much will it motivate the Sox to move Garrett Crochet at the trade deadline? However, one bad performance by Jonathan Cannon yesterday might put the brakes on him emerging as a top-of-the-rotation pitcher. Cannon looked gassed coming off nearly throwing a complete game shutout in his last start as he got rocked for 8 runs, 5 of them earned in 1 inning plus of work. He was just not good at all, struggled to get outs, and we'll get into should we be worried or not in just a second. Finally, Eloy Jimenez is back from the 10-day IL, and he still looked hurt running the bases. I mean, it was painful to watch. Once again, the Sox are bringing back a player who should still be on a rehab assignment way too soon. Why? I honestly don't know. This is a lost year. Eloy should still be in Arizona, probably playing in the complex league, getting a rehab assignment, then going to AAA, like what normal teams do. But then again, the Sox have never been confused for a normal team. Eloy had a hit in the 7th inning, and he looked to be in pain just getting out of the box. Really struggled to go from first to third on Gavin Sheets' double. Even, Sox on 35th, at Sox on 35th has the highlight out there on Twitter of just Eloy just looking in so much pain. And then even Pedro checking on him, calling him from the clubhouse, "Are you okay?" And say what you want about Jimenez and his injury issues, But it is hard to watch him play baseball now because his body just simply won't let him. And I've been harsh on Eloy, but he does play the game with joy. I get the frustration, though, because he represents the failure of the previous rebuild and the short contention window with him always getting hurt. But there's just something physically that won't let him play the game up to his full potential. It won't let him. Chicago Sun-Times beat reporter Daryl Van Schouwen, he tweeted this out at CST_SoxFan. Eloy Jimenez, who came off the IL today, said he was experiencing soreness in the hamstring during today's game. It had not been sore in Arizona in the days leading to today, he said. So add bringing back players too soon to the frustration power rankings, because the Sox sent down Oscar Colas yesterday to make room for Eloy. Eloy, though, should still be in Arizona getting some rehab at bats in the complex league or at low A Kannapolis, high A Winston-Salem, double A Birmingham, triple A Charlotte. They were all playing. But he should be getting some rehab assignments instead of looking like an 80-year-old man with arthritis trying to run the bases, because unexpected soreness is the reason why you have rehab assignments. If he was feeling some unexpected pain, well, at least it happens in the minors where it's not going to affect the overall grand scheme of things. And in the third segment, we will talk about, does winning matter in the minors? But Eloy should not be on the big league roster right now. He should still be rehabbing. And I don't know why the Sox keep doing this. Anyways, Drew Thorpe passed the bouncing back from an adversity test. He allowed 2 hits, but did walk 4 and struck out 5 in his third big league start on Saturday. I don't like tracking wins anymore because pitchers don't go no more than usually 6. But he did pick up his first career MLB win as the Sox won 5-1 on Saturday. Corey Lee and Andrew Vaughn were outstanding at the plate in that game. Both went 2 for 4. Both had RBIs. Vaughn RBI hit, Lee solo home run. And Lee called an excellent game. And then Pedro happened. He wanted to give Corey Lee a day off from behind the plate, so he paired Jonathan Cannon up with Martin Maldonado. Well, Cannon's first career start was good with Maldi behind the plate. The other one, though, earned him a demotion. And this one, he got absolutely crushed. Now, I'm not saying Maldonado is the full reason why Jonathan Cannon got roughed up, but Lee was the catcher for Cannon's past 2 brilliant starts. So maybe keeping that tandem together would have been smarter. Maybe realizing that Corey Lee is still young. Those knees aren't as banged up. Maybe he can make 3 starts behind the plate. I don't know. Maybe that just might have been a good idea there, Pedro. Although, as Steve Stone put it on the television broadcast, Cannon was just wild in the strike zone. Everything was up. Everything was in the middle of the zone pretty much, and the Tigers were making him pay for every mistake. And the Sox lost 11-2 yesterday. And it was over in the first inning. So I hope you went out and enjoyed the rest of your Sunday. Because if you tried to watch the entire game, you missed out on a very nice Sunday. Cannon, though, could have been tipping his pitches. And if he was asked about it after the game by Daryl Van Schouwen. He says he wasn't, but if he was, why does this keep happening? Another little detail-oriented thing. If he was tipping his pitches, we know that Thorpe, there was some thought that he was doing that on Sunday. Nick Nastrini had some potential issues. Michael Kopech last year, we knew he had some issues. This detail-oriented manager just can't pick up on, his pitchers possibly tipping their pitches. But anyways, Cannon also looked gassed from recovering after, throwing almost 9 innings in his last outing. Might have been a better idea to maybe have pushed him back. But hey, you got to see, can he bounce back from a long outing? And he so far failed that test. Don't need to get worried, though. It's part of the developmental process. Again, him getting roughed up has value. The fear is Mike Clevenger is getting ready to come back. And the Sox could use this recent last rough outing as another excuse to send him back because, hey, we got to showcase a veteran pitcher with no trade value. Well, hopefully, Paul DeJong, he was one that had a rough series. He was 2 for 10 with that base running gaffed, and then he had an error during the horrific first inning yesterday. But hopefully DeYoung can put on a better performance for a team that will be the ideal trade destination for him before the deadline, as the Los Angeles Dodgers, they're in town for a 3-game set. Let's discuss what to watch for / keys in that series, along with a makeup game against the Braves on Thursday, next on Locked On White Sox. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going wherever I want, and all I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. The line for the Sox tonight against the Los Angeles Dodgers is plus 1.5. That's going off at minus 137, plus 124 on the money line. And the over / under is at 8. The under is at minus 105. The over is at minus 115. Garrett Crochet is pitching tonight, which gives the Sox a shot to win. All I said was a shot. But the try bet for the Sox at minus 1.5, that's going off at plus 245. So that is probably the best chance to max your money tonight. But again, one of the best teams in the Dodgers versus the worst team in baseball, the Sox are matching up. So you might want to go the parlay route. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And if more or less is more your style or strength, a wise man once said, play to your strengths, then let me tell you about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Game 7 of the Stanley Cup is tonight. You got some good more or less to pick from. You can pick more or less on the Oilers' Connor McDavid scoring 1.5 points and 0.5 goals. Florida's Matthew Tkachuk at more or less 19 minutes of ice time, and Panthers goalie Sergei Pravosky at more or less 24.5 saves. Download the PrizePicks apps today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest sports stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And the White Sox start a 3-game homestand against Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers tonight. First pitch is at 7:10 p.m. Central. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. And welcome back to Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter, and thank you for making the show your first listen. Again, lots of great White Sox podcasts out there. Just ask that you make me the first listen. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox. Also follow or subscribe to the show on wherever you get your podcasts. Sorry, quick water break there. I know for some of you my podcast listeners, like when I slurp coffee, so I've switched to water, but I'm not a camel. And also I know you don't like my little pause breaks, but it's called pacing. Do you want me to talk like this? See, you can't do that. You got to pace. Anyways, thankfully this brutal 39-game stretch of schedule is wrapping up for the White Sox. It has gone as bad as you could possibly imagine. 39 games that featured matchups at the New York Yankees, at Milwaukee, at the rival Cubs. Even though the Cubs are bad right now, it's still, you're playing your rival. At Seattle, along with homestands against the Baltimore Orioles and the Boston Red Sox. Plus, they had to go to Canada to play the Toronto Blue Jays, where the White Sox barely win. Had to go play the Detroit Tigers, who they've barely beaten. They finally beat them for the first time this season on Saturday. Had to go to the Arizona, which is never an easy place to play because it's a West Coast time zone. It was a tough 39 games. And the Sox had moments where they were not bad. Should have swept the Mariners and should have beaten the Cubs, but the bullpen and the defense kept blowing leads, and the offense could never put teams away. The Sox are 7-28 as they enter the final 4 games of this stretch. And that has put that 7-28 stretch has put the Sox in contention to being one of the worst teams in the history of the game. That's how bad it's been. And it ends on the roughest opponents you could possibly imagine to wrap up such a brutal stretch of schedule. Sox face the Dodgers for 3 games. Then they have to play a makeup game against the Braves. But hey, at least it's at home. So if you want to see Shohei Ohtani and a superstar team, head out to the ballpark this week. And I highly encourage you to go. And if you don't want to give Jerry his money, use use one of our sponsor, the Game Time app. Secondary market, great prices. But that's the biggest thing / key to watch for in this series is Shohei Ohtani. Seriously, get out and see him live. He's hitting .321 with 23 homers and a 1.031 OPS. That is a generational talent. And he only comes to Chicago once a year, and usually you have to go to Wrigley Field. But this year is a bonus year since the Sox are hosting the Dodgers. And he's already come to Wrigley. So go out and watch him. I watched him last year when he was in Milwaukee, and he only hit 3 singles. The nerve of that guy to only get 3 hits and not hit it longer than first base. Although that was when he was with the Angels. Mike Trout was in that game. He crushed 2 home runs, one in the 8th and one in the 9th. How did the Angels not make the playoffs with Ohtani and Trout? I know Trout always gets hurt, but still, you should have had at least 1 year that those 2 generational talents took you to the playoffs. So some other keys / things to watch for is Paul DeJong showcasing himself for the best trade suitor imaginable. That is you want DeJong to be traded to the Dodgers. First, the Dodgers are without probable NL MVP Mookie Betts at shortstop for the rest of the year. They are rolling with Miguel Rojas, a good defender, but not a power threat. DeJong, he's a cheap rental for any contender. And the Dodgers usually tend to return good prospects in any deal. It's usually a win-win. See last year's deal for Lance Lynn. In fact, I would say the Sox sort of won that deal. Yes, Lance Lynn pitched much better when he went to the Dodgers, but he got crushed in the playoffs. And the Sox got Jordan Leisure and Nick Nastrini. Now, Leisure showed some promise in the bullpen. And I'll get to, the developmental plans in the next segment. But he's now back at AAA after facing some adversity. Nick Nastrini, potential future starter. We've seen the potential. Just needs to work on that command. At the very least, he should be an arm you can use in the bullpen. But DeJong, he's been hitting home runs like he wants to get the heck out of Dodge. So hopefully he can realize, hey, the Dodgers could use me. I'd really like to play for the Dodgers and play for a winner. Let me go crush some home runs. The Dodgers have also been speculated to be interested in Luis Robert Jr., Garrett Crochet, and Michael Kopech. Former baseball executive Jim Bowden, and now with The Athletic, he proposed this deal. The Dodgers acquire center fielder Luis Robert Jr., Garrett Crochet, and Michael Kopech. The White Sox get starting pitcher Nick Frasso, left-handed pitcher Justin Wroblewski. I probably butchered that name. Right-handed pitcher Carl Hurt. Right-handed pitcher Peyton Martin. Catcher Dalton Rushing. Outfielder Andy Pages. And shortstop Emil Morales. Now, talk about upgrading the Sox prospect pool immediately. And it kind of makes sense because the Dodgers are always interested in adding superstars. And Pedro's a superstar talent. I mean, not Pedro. Luis Robert Jr. is a superstar talent. And the Dodgers rotation is beat up And again, Los Angeles tends to benefit other teams and deals. And hey, even if the Sox do not trade Crochet, Eric Fetty might be an attractive option for the Dodgers since he's pitching well this season and is under club control for next year. And both Crochet and Fetty go in this series. And Michael Kopech going to the Dodgers might be the best thing for his career. Now, the Sox have been doing a good job recently putting him in spots for him to shine, but he still needs a change of scenery. And he needs a place to go where he can be deployed like he was in 2022. And I think the Dodgers could do that. Plus, the Dodgers pitching staff still, I think they got 4 starters on the IL. They got injuries, and yet still have the 3rd best staff in the game. They just find guys and plug them in. And the Braves, they're still trying to find an internal replacement for Ronald Acuna Jr. And if they do want to go into the trade market, Tommy Pham getting back on track would go a long way to improve his trade value to a contender, especially like the Braves. Last 7 days, Pham has a 143, 280, 286 slash line. He has a 167 average and a 519 OPS over his past 60 at-bats. And also with Crochet and Fetty pitching in the series, there is the possibility, I'm just going to say there's a possibility that they could actually win a game or two against the Dodgers. It's a possibility. And Drew Thorpe, he's scheduled to pitch against the Braves in that makeup game. It's a key start there as we get another data point on what kind of big league pitcher he will be. So it's really interesting to see how he pitches against the Braves. Although the Braves offense, outside of the top 10 right now, especially in a lot of offensive categories, they're 13th in average OPS and home runs, 16th in runs, but I'd still like to see how Drew Thorpe does against a contending team. Well, Thorpe is part of the hope that things will get better soon with the young pitching the team has in its farm system, and it's Monday, so that means a Minor League Monday report next on Locked On White Sox. Order supplies from the website that's made for the skilled trades. Find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands in just a couple clicks at SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com gives you 24/7 access to a huge selection of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with fast delivery anywhere in the U.S. Need help with an order? Get industry-leading after-sales service from their friendly and knowledgeable customer support team and talk to a real person every time. And there's great news for plumbers, technicians, and contractors. Being a pro has its perks. Trade industry professionals can join their free Trade Master program for free shipping and serious discounts on every order. Over 100,000 pros already trust the Trade Master program to deliver results. Apply for your membership today and get a competitive edge on every order at supplyhouse.com/TM. Save money and time when you order online. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. And the White Sox start a 3-game homestand against Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers tonight. First pitch is at 7:10 p.m. Central. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. Well, welcome back into Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter. Thank you for sticking with me this long. Shout out to all my everydayers out there. Really love you and appreciate you. We are getting through this season together. That's the best way I can say it. And hope you had a good weekend. Mine was all right. Took my daughter and wife down to Gurney Mills. I haven't been to Gurney Mills in probably, 30 years. And it is still as packed as ever. Couldn't believe it. I know malls are starting to die out, but man, Gurney Mills had a lot of people there. Now, granted, it was a Saturday. Took my daughter to the Rainforest Cafe. She's really big on elephants, as you can see. So if you're ever wondering, again, why do I have that puzzle up? My daughter put that together when she was 3 years old. But yeah, it was good weekend. So does winning in the minors matter? The Sox seem to think so, and they've been touting the winning their affiliates have been doing. Double-A Birmingham just clinched a spot in the Southern League playoffs by winning the first half. And you've seen Chris Getz talk about the winning. I believe it was Kannapolis. They won their first half, so they're going to the playoffs. But honestly, winning at the minors is nice, but it should be about teaching the prospects how to play winning baseball. That is what the White Sox front office still needs to establish. What style of baseball do they want to play to achieve winning? The wins and losses in the minors don't matter. It's establishing the culture and how you want to play the game of baseball. And you can get a good bunch of prospects together, like what the Barons have, and of course you're going to win. But the problem is, and that's why winning doesn't matter in the minors, is can any of these players help the Sox win at the big league level? So just because you establish, hey, we've won in the minors, you can go up to the big leagues and do a whole bunch of losing. You need to establish this is the way we're going to play the game and this is how we're going to win. And I think that won't happen until Pedro Grifol is gone from the Sox to really determine, okay, here's how we want to play. Also, Tony La Russa needs to get the heck out of the organization so they can go back to being a crush the ball franchise. Because again, how are the Sox going to win? I believe in the future. You play in a homer-friendly ballpark. So you want to get on-base guys that can crush the ball. Yes, it's instant offense. And yes, it can be maddening sometimes when the long ball isn't going. So then you put this little slight thing that I would like to put on, an exception to establish a winning culture. A team that knows how to hit when it's 1-2 and 0-2. That's the only time that you should be like, okay, we're going to put the ball in play. Otherwise, hit the ball long, hit the ball far. And then develop starting pitching. And boom, now you've got a winning organization, in my opinion. But the other issue is, as author and member of the Baseball Writers Association of America, Francis Romero, he tweeted out a scathing assessment of the Sox development plan. At Francis Romero FR. Cuban outfielder Oscar Colas was optioned again by the Chicago White Sox per sources. It makes no sense what the Chi Sox are doing with Colas. They continue to not give him consistent opportunities. After his 3-hit game in Seattle, he only played in another 2 games. Maybe the best thing for his career is to be a trade piece in the near future. And I spoke about this on Friday's show. However, is it a big deal that Colas was demoted for probably a few weeks in his development? I thought about that. I wrote about it on Southside Showdown. You know, the next thing he needs to do is to be able to drive the ball. He's showing great plate discipline, but now he's got to be able to drive the ball, and he needs at bats. And whether I like it or not, or you like it or not, the front office wants to showcase Tommy Pham, and money says you have to play Andrew Benintendi. So once Pham is traded, and if Colas is not brought back up to play right field regularly, because you can rotate Gavin Sheets with Eloy at DH, or have Gavin play some first base when Vaughn needs a day off. And Colas can also spell Luis Robert Jr. in center when he needs a day off. Then yeah, if Colas isn't getting those at-bats, then you should be upset. But getting back to the Double-A Barons, just how good was their starting rotation? At Not Cease from Future Sox, he tweeted this out. The Birmingham Barons are playoff bound. Adams, Bush, Schultz, Thorpe, Eder, and Iriarte were the best staff in all of MILB in the first half, posting a 2.89 team ERA. The future of White Sox is in Birmingham, and winning the division is a great start. Congrats, fellas. Now, Noah Schultz, he pitched his normal 4 innings on Saturday. He allowed 1 run on 5 hits and walked 1, but it was not a great week for the Double-A Birmingham Barons starting rotation. Iro Iriarte, he pitched on June 18th, gave up 5 runs on 8 hits in 6 innings, and he's given up 19 runs in his past 4 starts. Jake Eder, again, I always keep mispronouncing his name. I got to remember, because every time I turn on the Double-A Birmingham Barons, he's always pitching. He gave up 6 runs on 8 hits in 5 innings. Kai Bush pitched yesterday. He gave up 4 runs on 5 hits in 5 innings. Mason Adams was the only one to have a really good outing last week. 6 innings of shutout ball, and gave up just a hit. And I'll have James Fox on the show on Wednesday. He's going to talk about the MLB Combine, and I'll try to get his thoughts on, again, the bad week that the Barons had. Should we be concerned? Should we be worried? I don't think we should. You know, it's just part of the developmental process. Anyways, that wraps up this edition of Locked On White Sox. But before I go, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest sports stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I'll be back tomorrow. James Fox of Future Sox, he was supposed to be on, but he will not be available until Wednesday, so he'll be on Wednesday's show. So I'm moving way back Wednesday up a day to Throwback Tuesday. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube page at Locked On White Sox, or follow or subscribe to the show on wherever you get your podcasts. Also, feel free to leave comments about today's topics regarding the good and the bad in the Tigers series, the keys / what to watch for against the Dodgers and the Braves, and the Minor League Monday Report. You can leave them on the episode page on YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, at Todd J. Dub, or at Locked On Sox, or email me at LockedOnWhiteSox@gmail.com. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.